If you have big barrel racing dreams, then the strong foundation you'll need goes far beyond your horse's education. Now, no goal is out of reach, but we have to get real and honest about what it's going to take and the action steps necessary to make them reality. Join me today as I take you through 6 steps to create a financial foundation to support your barrel racing dreams. As I shared in today's post relating to step 1, which is getting real about your goals, is that barrel racing isn't likely to ever become something we do for the money, but because we love it. No matter how good we and our horses are, while not completely impossible, it's not realistic to depend solely on our winnings to cover expenses. But barrel racing professionally is still a full-time job in itself, so we have to have an intricate plan for how we navigate this. If we want to eventually rodeo professionally, for example, a financial foundation should be in place first before we pull out of the driveway to provide cushion through the inevitable but hopefully short-term losing streaks and to cover both planned and unexpected expenses. So step number 2 is to get real about your current finances. This requires us to track our income and expenses down to the penny. We simply have to get this area of our life in order. You may have heard that what you put your focus and attention on expands, and the same is true for our finances. At times it might be hard to face the facts that maybe you've been living beyond your means, which is easy to do with horses, but avoidance or denial is not how a financial foundation is created. It's really common to overinflate our income in our minds and underestimate our expenses, so we have to get very honest and get an accurate picture of that and be paying very close attention to how much is coming in and going out. Now, outside of creating a budget, I even recommend getting in the habit of checking your bank balance daily in order to have this area of life really placed as a priority. You'll of course want to create a list of the things you'll need to better support your barrel racing, including any major purchases you'll need to make. Until we've had an honest look at what it's going to take and what our current situation is, we may not fully even realize just how far away we are. But the truth is, ignorance is not bliss, and we're only given so much time on this earth, and so we have to be ruthlessly clear and make sure we're taking actions that are legitimately aligned with where we want to go. So number 3 is to make and carry out a plan. Now, after all this new awareness is gained, it's not unusual to realize that your current expenses are exceeding or your income or are dangerously close. So in order to create a financial foundation, you must make saving a priority, and if you're barely making ends meet, then something has to change. There are only 2 ways to turn this around, which is to raise your income or lower your expenses, and usually we need to do some of both. In my opinion, when considering all the things necessary for success, it's best to be realistic, to avoid extremes, and to have balance to avoid getting in over your head in any one area. For example, it's better to have one really good horse and a modest truck and trailer than a dozen horses and a new truck you struggle to make payments on and a trailer you have to borrow. The really hard part about making a plan and carrying it out might be that you have to make some tough decisions, such as trading in a vehicle, selling horses, or putting an end to certain commitments so you can focus on increasing your value. You not only have to create the right ratio between income and expenses, but also think about your environment and time. How can you simplify and declutter so that your mental bandwidth or time isn't taken up in ways that are essentially costing you? It's also critical that you stay mindful of what's most important to you in the long run. With each sacrifice we make, that we're simply trading what we want right now for what we want most. So number 4 is to slay debt and start saving. Now, a Dave Ramsey quote I adore says, "What can you do with your income when you don't have any payments?" And the answer is anything you want. Now, when I was in my 20s, I carried a few $1,000s in credit card debt for several years and didn't understand why it wasn't going down because I was paying $100 a month on it. Eventually, I realized that I was being charged almost that in interest. But remember that the fees that come along with borrowing money. Now, delayed gratification is considered the mark of maturity. If you can work hard and save up for big purchases instead of taking out loans, you end up paying much less for things than if you're charged interest. There are a lot of great resources and systems out there for paying off debt, such as what's called the debt snowball. I highly recommend making this a priority because when you're free of debt, you're no longer a slave to others and have so much more freedom to do what you want, when you want, on your own terms. Now, I grew up living in a paycheck to paycheck environment, so saving was really a foreign concept for me, but over time I've become better at it. Again, you must have a healthy ratio of expenses to income or it just isn't possible to prioritize saving. The amount you put into your savings fund will depend on your current situation and goals. You also want to automate it or set up a system to remind yourself to move funds from your checking to your savings account every month. This helps keep your savings out of sight, and it will also be out of mind, and you'll be less tempted to spend this money that it doesn't appear that you have because it's sitting in another account. So again, do your homework, make a plan for slaying debt, saving money, and work that plan. So number 5 is to know your worth and value your goals. One suggestion here is that you prioritize your barrel racing dreams to the point that you pay yourself first. The funds left over each month after paying bills have a way of disappearing easily, but I want you to put a designated amount into savings first to make those dreams a priority. You deserve the best in life, and if you're not specific about allocating funds towards your rodeo account, the financial foundation we need isn't likely to come to fruition. Secondly, I want you to know that the value you bring to your workplace or however you choose to bring in income outside of barrel racing. Don't sell yourself short, but also be sure you're constantly dedicating yourself to learning and improving. The pay that you receive is a reflection of the value you bring to the world. So if someone else doesn't see your value, bring it to their attention, which may require asking for a raise, or find a work environment that does appreciate your value and skills. So part of knowing your worth and valuing your goals also means that you have to be aware of how you think about saving money. For example, when it comes to all the necessary tasks to be a pro barrel racer, it's important to realize that you're not going to be able to do it all yourself. If you have a specific talent you can get paid for, think about paying someone else to do the time-consuming things that don't require that special talent, like mowing the lawn or cleaning your house or grocery delivery, so that you are freed up to keep investing in your barrel racing and whatever the specific value is that you bring to the world. In other words, once we've eliminated unnecessary expenses, it often makes more sense to focus on making money than it does on trying to save it by trying to do too many things yourself. A penny saved may be a penny earned, but don't step over dimes in order to save pennies. So number 6 is bust through money blocks. Now, as weird as it may sound, I want you to think about your relationship to money. Remember, the Bible doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says that the love of money is the root of all evil. So money itself is neutral. The power it has, which can be used for good or bad, is the power we give it. So when you see someone that has something you want, can you think of them without resentment or jealousy? Just because someone else looks financially free doesn't mean they are. And if they are, it doesn't mean we can't have that too. Based on our circumstances, we'll all have to take different steps to get there, but that's where we need to focus. Ask yourself, are you truly open to receiving and having more than enough and plenty of financial abundance? Maybe money burns a hole in your pocket, and once you get ahead, you have this overwhelming desire to spend it. Or maybe there's an underlying fear that something's going to go wrong, and as a result, things are always breaking down and causing this constant flow of unexpected expenses. Take a look at what's underneath that. Remember hearing that most lottery winners return to their normal financial state before they won? That's because they're returning to what is their unconscious financial comfort zone. But if we want to break free of the past, we have to be very aware and take purposeful steps forward. We have to fully recognize what are the not so obvious, unseen, or unconscious things we're doing or ways we're thinking that are limiting us, keeping us stuck, and holding our barrel racing back. The more we grow, the more blocks we'll run into, and we just have to keep overcoming them as we advance and build our own personal financial foundation. Most important, if you have a wake-up call or feel triggered by all this, rather than spinning into fearful thoughts of lack and not having enough, instead choose to be grateful that you now have the awareness necessary to be taking the right steps towards your goals. Appreciate your current financial situation, whatever it is, and be grateful for what you do have, where you're at, and everything it's taught you, and know that if you don't like where you are, that it's only temporary. You have the power to learn, grow, and completely change your circumstances. To wrap this up, let's review these 6 steps to achieve financial freedom to support your barrel racing. Now I'd love to hear your questions and feedback in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.